What is art? Music, poetry, comics books, paintings, these are things we call art. But today, I'm going to do something different. I would like to argue that art is something more. That art is something more than what we know of art previously. That in this age of AI, art has become increasingly deeply rooted in us humans. So how? How is it possible that art is something more? How is it possible that art is more than a brushwork, more than the techniques that you see on a painting? To know how is art something more, I think we need to look at the context. On November 30th, 2022, exactly 1 year ago, AI came out. Now to say that AI came out isn't exactly accurate. I mean, AI has always been there. But this time, something different. It seems as if AI has become much more powerful and much stronger than what we previously perceived. This time, all aspects of our society are fundamentally transformed, especially art. It is the first time in human history that human writers, human artists are displaced and unemployed not because of competition within our species, but because of competition outside of the species. Much as how 20 years ago, the leading computer, Deep Blue, managed to beat Garry Kasparov in a chess match. Today, AI has officially overtaken us in legitimate painting competitions. Consequently, some might think, well, human creativity is going to get diminished, human originality deconstructed, and in the end, we will meet the end of human art. If you follow that line of reasoning, the inevitable result is the end or doom for humanity. But I think that is not the case. I think we've missed something in that reasoning there. And to know what we have missed, I think we need to travel 100 years back to the 1800s and meet a leading philosopher, Walter Benjamin. And Benjamin proposed the famous idea of the aura. Now he defines it as sort of a presence in space and time. He defines it as a trace in history, as a way of unique existence. Now I know that probably doesn't mean anything to you, so let me explain it simply. The idea of the aura is that the true art, will only be true if they have human creativity involved in them. So the machine or AI generates a random art. That's not true art. But a human with enough intention and with enough care generates a good art. That is what we call true art. So why am I talking about Benjamin here? I think his theory, though archaic to be honest, is very important for us to tackle the challenge that is brought forth by artificial intelligence. How? His theory of the aura provides us this very simple separation between the art and those that we don't really commonly perceive as art. His theory of the aura encourages us to evaluate, to appreciate, and to understand art not as their face value, but to interpret and appreciate the human stories behind those artworks, and how human ingenuity and human creativity are beautifully interwoven into those pieces of art. And I think by talking about Benjamin and talking about the context of artificial intelligence, we can recognize that what makes art, what makes true art, is not necessarily the techniques, not necessarily the compositional techniques that can be trained. I think what makes art true art is the human element in it. So, as this talk is going to end very soon, I would like to bring you back to the first thing I've talked about in this speech. The very first question that I have asked. What is art? And I think by talking about Benjamin, we can understand that art perhaps is not so much about how the techniques work together, not so much about how the brush works and how the words are used in a poem. I think art is not about the detachment from the nature, from the world, from the society, or the detachment from the very human creators who have made those art possible. Instead, I think art as a concept is grounded. Art as a concept is grounded in our sensations. Art as a concept is grounded in our experiences, in our thinkings, in our feelings, and in our ideals. And art is present. Art is present in us humans, in our hearts. So what we have to recognize is that AI will not replace human art. And AI is not going to overtake us. Because there are certain things that AI cannot overtake. And because the word art 200 years ago was not a noun but a verb, a second conjugation of the verb to be. Because art in ancient Sanskrit means a manner, a code which we live. And art in the modern period, as proposed by Martin Heidegger, is the way that we shall exist. To art is to be human. To create art, to engage in art, and to critique art is at the very essence of what it means to be a human. To exist uniquely in this time and space and to leave a trace in this world of amazing opportunities. Now, to finish my talk, I would like to ask you one final question. And I hope, as I'm going down stage, the answer to the question I'm about to ask in your head should be a definitive yes. So I ask, do you dare to art? Thank you.